Everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 4, Sans, Son, and Spouses. We do a quick therapist review to learn about relationships, and these couples definitely give us lots of tools and information to work with to help us to learn. But before we get into it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Let me know what you think now that all couples have been married. Finally. So let's start it. First, we have Morgan and Ben. They are finally married. I'm so happy for them after their wedding got delayed because Ben caught COVID. And then I had a little epiphany. I was like, oh, he caught COVID and she's a nurse. Maybe it's meant to be. Now, you know I'm joking, but it just kind of clicked while I was watching it, while I was watching the episode last night. But we do learn a little bit more about both of them. We learn that Morgan did not have a relationship with her father, and she's walking herself down the aisle. And she said she doesn't really like the idea of someone else giving her to someone. She wants to give herself to her husband. She stated that she has to set some boundaries with her father and doesn't really share much about her life with him. And Ben is saying that because their honeymoon was cut short due to COVID, that he's going to take her anywhere she wants to go for a second honeymoon. I said, okay. So we are showing maybe a little flexibility. It took him catching COVID to be able to splurge a little bit. Ben gave Morgan the Marriage Isn't for Punks book by Pastor Cal, which I thought was an interesting purchase. I'm like, not the most romantic, but it's a practical gift, a tool we're going to need potentially on this journey. And she loved her engagement ring. Ben, as he's preparing to get married, he tells his mother to let me know, if there's anything that you don't like about her, and I'll work with it. And so that lets me know that Ben is really focused with pleasing his mother first, it seems, and his wife second. Like he's going to maybe try to help mold his wife to be what his mother wants her to be. That's going to be very, very problematic for someone like Morgan. Morgan is not for the games. She's a very independent person. And she is unapologetically herself. So I do see where that's going to be an issue. We know this mama boy thing is going to be an issue, but him trying to shape her to be something or be digestible for his mother, for her liking, that's not going to work in this relationship. As Morgan's walking down the aisle, she gets to the end and sees Ben, and she embraces him. That seems to be a theme this season, and I am for it. It's like even though this is our first time meeting, we're getting married. So this is an intimate space in our life. So let's just go ahead. Let's skip the pleasantries of the handshaking and let's just embrace one another. As the officiant is reading the family's description of Ben, she's trying to console him. You can tell the mama's boy description definitely did kind of throw her off a little bit in the moment. She said in the after party that she really has a close relationship with her mother, so she wasn't thrown off by it. And at the same time, I don't know exactly if she really understands how much of a mother's boy that Ben is, but she tried to console him as he kind of cringed a little bit, saying that his mother is the most important woman in his life and he makes her happy and he really leans on her with the decisions in his life. That is a lot to take in when you're meeting your husband and saying, oh, is this something that I'm going to have to potentially deal with, or is this going to be something that's going to be an obstacle in our relationship? I also thought it was adorable that he memorized his vows. He's like, hey, I had some extra days during COVID, so I took the time to memorize them, and they were beautiful. Our after wedding convo seemed a bit odd to me. They seem to both have a lot of nervous energy, rightfully so. I mean, they're married and they're meeting their spouse for the first time. This is their first conversation. And so they seem to kind of like over talk each other a little bit. And when Ben brought up the subject of children, Morgan said, hey, I got a cat. And she just kind of like skirted around that. Unless Ed didn't cut that part out, it seemed to be like, I'm not going to have this conversation with you about children. And our first conversation, which is kind of, kind of forward, even though they're married, that's still their first conversation. So maybe she was a bit put off by that. He is definitely intimidated by her athleticism. And even though he works out 5 times a day, she said, I do as well. And I can body slam you. So he's like, oh, okay. All right. He wasn't prepared for a bride to be able to body slam him. But he did share that he is really planning financially to be able to be financially independent so that he doesn't have to work his whole life. And that sounds amazing. That makes more sense about why he's so frugal. And we'll see if Morgan's able to really take that in and walk that path of frugalness with him. She did say that she found him very attractive. He's found her beautiful. So they have some budding chemistry and connection as a foundation for this relationship to see where it goes. Next, we have Alexis and Justin. Well, we know Justin likes Alexis. It's very clear. If you didn't know, Justin likes Alexis. Did you know? Justin likes Alexis. And at the same time, he did let the cat out the bag that she snores. I guess that was payback for letting her friends know that he's celibate, or actually the whole wedding party know that he's celibate at their wedding. Justin talked about he watched her sleep and she's so beautiful when she sleeps, and they had like this cute little exchange about them getting each other's number, after they got married, but it was very cute. So in traditional form, this episode, the spouses meet their spouse's family and it's grill time. And Alexis is up first. So she meets Justin's mother and her friend. And mother said, hey, how did it go last night? And she said, well, your son's still celibate. Why, Alexis? Alexis is going to say what is on her mind. She's going to do it. She is going to do it. And we learn more about her family as Justin meets them. But Alexis did ask about the first engagement that Justin had and why it ended. Mother talked about like what happened, that they went out for dress shopping and then all of a sudden the engagement broke up. It was kind of blindsiding, but she didn't say what actually happened in the relationship that caused the engagement to break up. So maybe mom doesn't know. Justin didn't share that with her, but it really didn't give Alexis much information. Now, Alexis outed that she had been proposed to 3 times, and that definitely caught mom and Justin's friend off guard. She did say that she was selfish and immature, had unrealistic expectations. And now that she's in this situation, now that she's married, it just changes things. And I keep hearing this, and I keep hearing this mindset like, oh, now that I'm married, it completely changes everything. That's not actually true. I think it can be a motivating force, right? It can be a motivating force for you to say, hey, I'm in this, so I'm not going to give up. I'm in this and I'm going to work with myself. But those parts of her that still have like unrealistic expectations and that are selfish, they're still present within her. And so she's going to have to work with those parts. She's going to have to reassure them. She's going to have to definitely make those adjustments as she's embarking in this journey in marriage with Justin. Justin's friend asked Alexis, what would happen if you get bored? Like if you get bored, marriage relationships, they're not always fun and exciting. What are you going to do when that happens? Alexis stated that she has a new perspective on relationships. And that was kind of her answer to that question, which didn't really answer the question. Maybe Alexis doesn't know, and that's okay. I think when they're being grilled by the family members and these friends, it can be a little off-putting with the cameras, and sometimes they just say things and not really answer the question. I understand why she didn't say. I didn't know she wanted to appear confident. She wanted to appear confident and put his family and friend at ease. And at the same time, like, I don't know, but I'm willing to do the work to make sure that I am committed to your son and your friend. I don't want to hurt him. That could be a response versus just saying something and not really answering the question, and being truthful too, because being authentic, that helps. Justin's mom gave Alexis a warning that he is sensitive, and we have heard this by pretty much everyone in Justin's life. Alexis says she can handle it. We shall see. With Alexis being very, very vocal and Justin being sensitive, I do see that that's going to be an obstacle and a learning edge for them in their relationship. Justin meets Alexis' sisters and her mother. And her sister comes right off the gate with a doozy. How do you handle anger? Because that shows me who you really are. And that's a great question. Justin didn't really answer that. He stated how he would handle Alexis in her anger. He didn't talk about how he handles himself in his own anger. The other sister, she asked some really great questions. I like her. She stated that their mother raised them to be very vocal. And so, as Justin said, that he's a pleaser. He's going to do anything to make Alexis happy. That seems to be like his go-to answer for everyone and everything. And she said, how are you going to make sure that your needs are met? How are you going to advocate for you? And then he said something that was a little interesting. He's like, well, I'm not going to be a pleaser, if my needs aren't met. I'm not going to allow this to be just like a one-way street. We'll see. I haven't seen that in Justin's personality yet. It's still pretty early on, but I see him just doting heavily on Alexis and doing whatever she needs to make this relationship work, because he's so infatuated with her. So we'll see. We'll see if he really is able to advocate for himself. The sister also asked, what are you going to do if this doesn't work? God forbid. And he says that he hasn't thought of that because that's not going to happen. That if Alexis wants out, then she's going to have to stay and make this work. And he seems to be coming from a very idealistic place. From relationships, I get the sense that potentially he doesn't really truly have a awareness of himself in relationships. Like he doesn't know how he shows up in relationships. That can be a little overwhelming for Justin, especially in this situation, because Married at First Sight is a very big learning curve. You learn a lot about yourself on national television, in front of the whole world, and everybody's responding to your behaviors in time. So this is going to be a very interesting experience for Justin. I really hope he's able to take this in stride, as he is sensitive, as everybody's saying. So I'm really hoping he's able to take this in stride and not take it personally. As they arrive to the honeymoon and the couples are meeting each other, they're having conversation, and Justin is talking about his member once again, and Alexis is like cringing because it's like, sir, but this seems to be something that he talks about on a regular basis. I'm hoping that Alexis can pull him to the side and say, sir, you're making me uncomfortable, but Justin, stop it. Alexis also let the cat out the bag that they did match on Hinge, and she said at the after party even more information that he was annoying. She was really reluctant to use that word, but he was constantly messaging her, and then messaged her on Instagram as well. And she said, yeah, I know who you are and I'm not interested. And then he's there as her groom on the wedding day and said that God had jokes. So we shall see how this dynamic and all of this plays in their relationship. I do think it's some things that they can get through. I think it's going to be a bumpy ride for them. I truly do. If they're going to, truly stay together, it's going to be a bumpy ride. But I do feel like they both have the fortitude to push through it. I do agree with Alexis' sister. He's going to have to learn to advocate for himself and do it in a way that's respectful and not come from an emotional space, like an aggressive space where it seems like maybe he's potentially trying to control Alexis. He's going to have to be able to learn how to communicate his feelings effectively so that they can have a relationship where both of them are getting their needs met. Next, we have Kristen and Mitch. Well, on the wedding night, they both forgot their jammies, which is fine by Mitch because he didn't really want anything that was, over the top or planned. He really just wanted to see Kristen in her normal state. So she just had on her regular kind of regular everyday jammies and no makeup. And he said, oh, okay. And this was the first real genuine sign that Mitch had some attraction to Kristen. So I said, okay, maybe there's a little to work with this couple. I think temperament, that's going to be another situation. But we at least got some baseline attraction, just a little bit. Mitch stated that he does feel a little awkward and doesn't want to force anything. He wants to take his time. Very consistent. He's slow to warm up. He's getting to know Kristen, and so it's going to take time for him to really feel secure and to be able to be vulnerable with Kristen. He's honest, but emotionally vulnerable. That's gonna take some time for Kristen. I hope she's got her patient pants on. Mitch meets Kristen's mom and friends, and he stated that his intentions are to be 100% with her, to be all in, to be authentically himself, and to make each other happy, to create a happy relationship. And Mom wanted to know about the previous relationship. She said, what happened there? And he said that he was really committed to his mission. And he even said the word religion in regards to being an environmentalist. And that was his focus. And so he wasn't able to really give his full attention to his relationships. And so that's going to be a struggle. And even Mom said that. She said, I feel like Kristen's going to be able to support you in your mission, but you're going to have to be able to give time and space for your marriage. You're going to have to create some work-life balance. He seems to really, really be very passionate about the environment. And there's nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, this marriage is going to take a lot of time, especially because they're married at first sight. It's going to take a lot of time to build that relationship, and especially because he's slow to warm up, they need it. They need the cultivating time to be able to connect, to build that healthy attachment, to connect. Now, Kristen meets Mitch's mother, brother, and sister-in-law, and they give her lots of information about Mitch. Kristen, buckle your seatbelt. Mitch's brother said that he can tell that Mitch feels really overwhelmed by this whole experience. And so the fact that she wants to take things slow, that's really great, because he's overwhelmed and he's a bit of a rebel. He's going to not like when people are trying to tell him what to do. And then sister-in-law said, well, we kind of bumped heads, and we're just two different people. He can lash out at times and be a bit abrasive. And mother tried to add a little bit to that, saying, well, he's honest. He's just brutally honest at times. And his pride gets the best of him. And then the brother then chimed in and said, well, I'm just worried that he's going to hurt your feelings or say something that makes you angry. And then you're going to not want to continue with the relationship. And he's hoping that they'll be able to massage this and work through this and give it time, so that they can get through these bumps in the road, because they're really telling her that it's going to be bumpy. Kristen said that she was actually intrigued and excited about the fact that he's a rebel. She really liked that, and he said that was a fair assessment of him with his family. So we'll see how much on board Kristen is with this rebel inside of Mitch, but they seem to be doing pretty well. They're doing better than I thought. I have to tell you, I really thought that Mitch was going to rub Kristen the wrong way. I think because Kristen is attracted to him, that is helping Mitch. He's also very honest, which is endearing. The fact that he's honest can definitely provide some safety for Kristen to know that he's honest, so that there's not a part of her that's wondering if he's really being truthful with her as they're getting to know each other. Like, she knows that she's meeting the real Mitch, right? So that helps. I'm just curious of what's going to happen when Mitch's lashing out part comes into play, and also this work-life balance. If he's really going to be able to make these concessions and compromises to make time to build this connection with her. Next, we have Stasha and Nate. And Nate and Stasha are both looking forward to cuddles. They're both looking forward to cuddling with each other on their wedding night. And then when the production asked him, "Are you talking about cuddles or the horizontal mumbo?" he said, and he had a little Freudian slip there. Like, there's definitely a part of him that wants to, right? Wants to consummate their marriage. Absolutely. And I think also Stasha has that same part, but they're wanting to take time to really build the connection. Well, at least Stasha has that has that in mind, and it seems like Nate is really trying to take her lead on that, which is respectful. Stasha asked what are Nate's expectations of a wife, and he said just someone who's supportive and a best friend. And that's great. I think that's surface level, maybe what his expectations are. We all have unconscious expectations of relationships. And so as we learn about Nate, like later on, we learned that his mother, really wasn't in his life at all. So there's a childlike part of him that's going to have expectations of what the mother in his mind looked like, and he's going to unconsciously put those on Stasha. It's just a part of how we are. And so that'll be something that they learn about each other in their relationship. He wants to create a family, and he has this mystical family in his mind, and he wants that to be the picture of him and Stasha. And normally what we picture in our mind, especially as children, is very, very idealistic and unrealistic. So he's going to have to grieve that family that he's always dreamed of, and be able to accept the one that he actually has. So we shall see. Stasha says she was not expecting her husband to be so handsome. She was not expecting that to happen, so she was very pleased with that. Stasha said that sometimes she can be a bit insecure in relationships, and when she doesn't get that reassurance that she needs, she can pull back and create distance. Nate shared that he has some feelings of really feeling misunderstood from his peers, going back to his childhood of not being liked. As he was traveling, his dad was in the military, and he was light skinned, and he moved into a black area, and he was bullied because he was light skinned. And she said that she experienced that same experience, so she understands, and she was able to connect with him in that pain. Stasha met Nate's dad and his friend, and she stated that she's a workaholic. She is a workaholic, and she's stubborn. I appreciate her openness and directness about who she is, and her awareness as well. His dad did ask, like, hey, so how are you going to balance this working thing, and you're going to want a family? Like, what is that going to look like? And the friend had the same question, and she said, I'm working on it. Like, she's like, I know it's an issue. So that's showing some promise. That's showing some promise. We'll see how much she's, going to work with that, but that is showing some promise. Nate's friend said that his only concern is that they're both pretty much very much alike. We do see that they're both very stubborn. They're both very independent. Nate really didn't have a family. She asked to be emancipated, at a young age. So there's definitely some younger parts of them that have been bucking for independence, and I'm curious about how that's going to show up when they try to connect. If that's going to be fireworks, if that's going to be a butting of heads, because it's like, you won't let me live the life that I want to live. You won't let me do what I want to do. I wonder if that's really going to be a curveball in their relationship. And then Nate's dad said the sweetest thing. He said, just don't break his heart. I thought that was so cute. You could tell that it speaks to what we find out in Nate's meeting Stasha's family, with him being a single father, that he definitely had, a bit of a nurturing side to him. He didn't show that on the wedding day, but we're seeing that a little bit in this meeting, and it was very special. It was heartwarming. Nate met Stasha's friends and her mother. They asked about consummating the marriage, and they said they were joking, but they were asking about if he's going to wait, and I was like, why are we asking this question? That's between Nate and Stasha. But and they're trying to be protective, so I had to cool that part back. I think there's a part of me that's just annoyed about the outside conversations about their physical intimacy. Like, that's something that's between them two. But Nate did say that he's going to make sure that Stasha is comfortable before they consummate their marriage. Nate did reveal that he did have a business that did fold and had some debts attached to it, and it had to be dissolved. And so I think that that's going to be something that Stasha is going to be very, very concerned about. Now she can take it in stride and be actually like an asset to him and help him build his business savvy. If that's something that she is up for. But he's just doing day trading. That seems to be his only stream of income. That's going to potentially be an issue. And then there's also a part of me that's saying, didn't you say that you had another company when you met Stasha before? And now I'm like, are you being honest, Nate? Please tell me you're being honest. I have my spidey senses up with Nate. I did second episode, third episode, and definitely now with him just kind of showing some inconsistency in what he's actually doing with his profession. Something's up. Nate did share his family story and his dream of having a family and meeting his mother at 12 years old and just being like one time, and how he really just wanted a family, and he's always wanted a family. It was great to see him open up and share that way. That shows that takes a lot of strength and courage to do that. And it was definitely something that Stasha appreciated when Nate shared that with her, that he could be so open and honest with her family. That's like what the second time he met them. So that takes a lot. Now, as they are getting to the honeymoon and the couples have met each other and things, and they're getting prepared for the night, Nate is really trying to save the planet and save water, and they have an intimate moment in the shower together. I do feel like they consummated their marriage after that. If so, we'll see how that's going to shape their relationship, if it's going to be physical forward, and if they're getting to know each other and building their connection is still going to be a priority. We'll see. And if it's going to, and then also if the physical is going to cloud things, we'll see. Last, we have Lindy and Miguel. As they're in the hotel, Lindy is getting worked up. Like, she's trying to find everything, and she's in the bathroom for almost 40 minutes. And so Miguel comes in like, hey, is everything all right? And she's like, I just got to find this and I just got to find that. And so Miguel is concerned about the spiraling that Lindy is doing. And he's saying in normal circumstances, this will be a red flag. But because they're married, that he's going to take it in stride and see how it goes. Lindy stated that she has just butterflies. She's over the moon about their chemistry and about Miguel. And so they're talking, getting to know each other, and they're passionate about traveling as they're excited to know where they're going on their honeymoon. And Miguel asks what kind of traveler Lindy is. I think he's trying to see how wound up and how anxious Lindy can be. And she stated, I just need snacks and water just to remain calm. I need to make sure that I'm maintaining my blood sugar because I've had some traumatic experiences with canceled flights and traveling. So I just make sure that I'm taking care of my body. And you could tell Miguel is concerned. You can really tell Miguel is concerned about how much he's going to be able to help her remain calm if she's able to do that for herself, and how this is going to impact their relationship. Miguel met Lindy's family, and Lindy's brother stated that calm and assurance is the path with Lindy, and because she has a tendency to take things personally, and that she may lash out at him. If she has a tendency to take things personally, this tells me a few things. Now, to give Lindy grace, we all have parts of us that take things personally. When we receive people's behavior, we feel like it's something we did, when really in actuality, it's about them. How they respond to what we're doing usually has to do with some things that are going on inside of them. It does let me know, though, that Lindy may potentially have some wounds that haven't been healed, and I'm curious about how that's going to play out in their relationship. She seems to be really anxious a lot and needs a lot of reassurance. And so we'll see how Miguel's going to navigate this, if he has the compassion and patience to be along this ride. Miguel asks Lindy's family, so, hey, do you have any questions about me? And then Mom asks, so, what about sex? Lindy's brother said, well, in the Bible, and I had to pause. I actually had to pause my television because there was a part of me that was like getting annoyed for Miguel, because he had already stated that religion and organized religion wasn't something sit with him, like that was a part of who he was. And at the same time, I had to take a deep breath, because I understand that Lindy's brother was trying to provide like a foundation of understanding for Miguel of where they're coming from in regards to sex. And at the same time, again, it's their relationship, their sexual relationship is not their business. It's really not. So they came off a bit controlling. You can tell they were trying to really influence him and decide like when they're going to have sex. Like, that's between Miguel and Lindy. Like, that's that. And that question really wasn't about Miguel. Like, that question wasn't like getting to know Miguel, right? But he did ask about his failures in past relationships. And I wish that we would change the language regarding failed relationships or breakups. They happen. They're lessons. They're not failures. It shows how much our culture can shame like singleness and breaking up, and believe that being in a relationship like increases your value or means like that you're doing something right. And not to say that you're not. It's just that you learn about relationships. You learn about yourself as you relate with others. So there's going to be some bumps along the way, but it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means that you're learning. It takes the pressure and the shame off of breakups. I think sometimes people hold on to relationships too long because they don't want to be shamed for a divorce, or shamed because they ended it and it didn't make it work, right? Sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's what Miguel was saying. Like, he said, I had to end the relationships because people were cheating on me, or because we just weren't aligned and it just wasn't a good fit. Lindy's brother did state in his confessional that he thought that Miguel being 35 and single, that was a potential red flag, and that was the issue. Like, why so late in life? And I'm wondering if he misses the fact that he was in school for a lot of his life. Like, he got his PhD. So that's probably one of the things that is leading to him being 35 and single. And at the same time, there's nothing wrong with being 35 and single. Our culture, people are getting married later because of education being a factor. And I understand in some religious circles, people do get married earlier on, right? And so maybe that's something that Lindy's brother is more accustomed to. And at the same time, 35 and single is fine. Lindy met Miguel's friend and sister, and Miguel's sister is more protective than I thought. She's even more protective than I thought. She said, so, Miguel is a Cancer and you're a Gemini, so they're not really compatible. How are you going to make this work? And I was like, what kind of question is this? Not that there's anything wrong with astrology or, at all. I think, okay, so they're not compatible. What can she do about that? She can't change when they were born. She's going to do the work to make it happen. It does just seem like a very interesting question. It does seem like potentially like Miguel's sister is having some anxiety about that. She says she's very protective of her brother, and she's really concerned too about financial stress and wanting to know Lindy's plans financially for their relationship. And she said, like, hey, I've really been focused on work for a lot of my life, and I just want to enjoy life. Like, I work a little bit, then I play a little bit. And they were really caught off guard about that, and also student debt. But student debt, I think that's, everybody expects that, especially with two people who have PhDs, two doctors. That's going to be a lot of money. That's going to be a little interesting how they work that out. I do find it ironic that Lindy has a lot of student debt and she's not working as much. I think there's a way you can balance and still like be financially responsible. So that's going to be something that her and Miguel work out. Lindy and Miguel are, debriefing about meeting each other's families. You can tell Lindy was so embarrassed that her family asked about sex. Lindy got pretty anxious when it came to the student loan conversation and like very talkative. And that's pretty common when people have anxiety and there's a part of them that can become really, really talkative to kind of fill the air, doesn't like silence because that feels uncomfortable. So they'll just keep talking to cover up their anxious feelings. And Miguel stated that he's seeing some warning signs with Lindy's anxiety and doesn't know for sure if he's the person that can be the calm to her storm. And I'm a little shocked by this. I'm really shocked. I thought Miguel was going to be more accommodating. He is accommodating, but I thought he was really going to be really over accommodating, especially how his friends described him. But I see him really being more measured. Really measured in this relationship. So maybe he's learned some lessons. He's taken some inventory and he's like, not again. I'm not going to be a sugar daddy. He said that. So we shall see. Now, when they get to the honeymoon, Miguel said that he made an advance and Lindy said, hey, we give us some time. And I thought that was interesting for Miguel to say that in front of everybody. But again, the production makes them talk about sex in front of each other. So there's that. But I'm not shocked that Lindy is wanting to take time to build a relationship before physical intimacy. I also see that Lindy's anxious parts are going to be an obstacle and a learning curve for this relationship for sure. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you are seeing with these couples. If you have stayed thus far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Next week's video is going to be one day late because I have a trip coming up, so it will be posted on Friday. I appreciate your patience in advance, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered. Peace.